I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, would like to excuse Mayor Packard. He's away tonight. The rest of the council is here. It doesn't look like we have any scouts or students. Looks like our regular crowd of directors are here and a few members of the community. We want to welcome you and hope that you have an enjoyable time with us tonight. I don't have any public comment forms. Did we get any of those, Kim? Okay. Stacy, we have a Springville Senior Center 60th anniversary. You're looking at that monitor like, wait a second.
Well, Patrick was going to help me get it going. I don't know where he went. So I just want to thank you, Council, for allowing me to be here tonight. And I do have a presentation. Yes, it's the PowerPoint on Common Drive under Senior Center.
You don't have to do it there. I can help you do it if you want. Looks like PowerPoint started there.
Let's see if that's mine. Oh,
Yours is up, but then you can hit open file. Go ahead and open it. Sounds like he's telling me.
Thank you. This is my first opportunity to actually do a PowerPoint presentation here, so thank you. I'm here to just give you a little bit of information about our senior center. This year, they actually just celebrated their birthday party or their 60-year anniversary, and that was on March 12th, they opened March 12th, 1962. So I was going to give you just a little few fun facts and history. So the actual building was built early in the 1900s, and it was the Springville Opera House at that time, and they had different presentations, plays, music, all sorts of things. That opera house burnt down in 1928, and it burnt down completely to the foundation and just the four walls. And at the time, they didn't know what to do with the building. It was owned by the LDS Church. And so in 1931, the church turned the building over to the American Legion. And they went in and fixed up the building and remodeled it and rebuilt it. And it was ready to open up in 1932. And at that time, it was just a memorial. They called it the Memorial Hall. And they had activities, dances. The armory, they used it as an armory at the time, the National Guard, until the other armory was built. And they just had all sorts of community things there. And so, So anyway, in the 1960s, the state government asked communities to start doing something for the senior groups in the community. And so in 1962, in Springville, the first 6 people in the senior group met at the bowling alley. And it was the Art City Bowling Lanes, I think is what it was called. And they had 6 people in attendance, and they started bowling there for their seniors. And within not very long, they had 20 to 30 people coming, and so they started looking for a new place. And in 1963, with the council and Mayor Calvin Packard, they allowed the senior citizens to move into what was called the Memorial Hall. And at that time, the place had become, over the 30 years that it had been going just as the Memorial Hall, it had kind of become run down. So they got a grant for $100, and all of the seniors went in as volunteers, and they painted and refinished the floors and just fixed it up so they could start being there. One of the fun things is, they just kind of started with socials once a week, and then they kind of started adding classes and picnics and just more bowling, of course, and quilting. Those were kind of the things they started with. And then in 1975, I thought this was kind of fun, they purchased a bus from the Nebo School District, and their very first field trip that they went on was to Salt Lake. And there were 44 seats, and they were all full, and they went to the circus in the bus. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then also, they actually purchased 2 other buses throughout those years, and then recently, we don't own any buses, but we did purchase a van back in 2020, right before COVID. We purchased a van with a grant, and they continue to do a lot of different field trips today throughout Utah and all sorts of fun things. In 1974, they started the meal program, and that has been such a wonderful thing for the community. And just kind of a fun FYI, during COVID, they were serving 150 to 200 meals per day to people. They just did a drive-through and continued to service that population, which was a really great thing socially and mentally, not just only the meal, but just gave the opportunity for the seniors to get out of the house. We currently have over 550 members, and that kind of goes back and forth. We'd like to get more, of course. And then you can take a look there at some of the different classes that are offered. In 1976, they also started a geriatric clinic, which was very helpful, and they used that. And one of their slogans was, "Ask and ye shall receive." And so I think the really fun thing is that there's been a lot of volunteers and a lot of people that have put a lot of time and effort into this vision of having a senior center. And so I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank those people that have had, that foresight and vision to create a place for people to come, maybe not only just for a meal, but, for friendships and, they come together for activities, for social opportunities. They get to serve, and it just increases, again, the quality of life for our communities. So just wanted to share that with you, and I think I've got one more slide of some of the activities they've been doing. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
So fun. Thank you. That's really cool. It was fun to serve a
You didn't
meals
ask for
during
any of our
COVID.
600,000. That was impressive. I thought surely you'd ask for some of that. Because
Well, it's a good
They do
spot.
it on a great budget. I mean,
Absolutely.
Was Tori? Is that it?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Tori Eaton
Tori Eaton.
and her
Freaking
staff.
awesome.
Yeah.
What she's able to put together down there is great. So.
Oh, yeah. they've
Just
got-
for reference, the directors have no idea what you're talking about on the 600,000.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Oh, I thought
We're
that
We're
was-
the
starting
only-
to
we're the
wonder,
only
though.
ones
We
that
could
know
think of some places.
now the whole public knows about it. Okay, yeah. You want to say anything about that, Troy?
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
What do I need to push to get out, Troy?
You're fine right
Okay.
there.
Okay, thanks, Stacy. So our next item is we're recognizing Brad Mertz and Frank Young for their service to the Planning Commission. Frank, do you want to stand up and be recognized? I don't know how long Frank's been on the Planning Commission, but at least as long as I've been on the council. So we very much appreciate the work that you've done there. How long have you been there, Frank? Just under 12 years. Yeah. So that's a pretty good commitment to the city, I think. And you've done a great job. We appreciate the work that the Planning Commission does and all the work that you put in. I know that Brad Mertz had to retire because of some family commitments that he had going on. And what are you going to do with your free time now? Honeydews, huh? Well, and we certainly appreciate Mrs. Young for allowing him to do that work and keeping him involved and supporting him in it. We know how important that is, so thank you.
Is there
Thank you.
Do we?
Josh.
do you want to come
Yeah.
up?
Perfect.
You could use the tissue, or the side's fine too. Yeah, there's gloves somewhere.
The math on that 12-year service comes out to around 275 meetings plus trainings, a trip to Denver and other places, right? So Frank is really now leading as our senior planning member. In the short time I've been here, he's been really valuable. Helps us bring well-considered recommendations to the council. And
white glove, I think.
Okay, since we don't have any public comment tonight, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll list for a motion.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and we'll move on to the regular agenda. Item number 5, consideration of a resolution and a power purchase agreement with Steel Solar 1B project for 25 years. Sean, do you have that presentation? Okay.
I have a presentation, but sent staff reports, and so you can ask questions, or it'd be pretty much the same one as last week. So let's see. So I don't know. Have you all read it, or okay? So what it is a project up in Plymouth, Utah, by the steel plant up there, Nucor steel plant. It's trackable solar. It's at 3135 per megawatt, which is really great. And we think it's a good idea to do for the next 25 years. The thing that really got us was this chart right here. And we kind of talked about that last time, but that orange line is the load curve that normal solar takes without trackable panels. But the two projects we're doing have the load curve going later at night. So that hour 20 is 8 o'clock at night. And that's why we're really interested in it, to help our July loads just a little bit and offset some natural gas usage. It might alleviate needing quite as much generation like recip engines or gas turbines. And so we're trying to add some of that. We don't know how big to go either. And we have the two projects at 5 megawatts. We need to see how that acts in our portfolio, but we may be interested in more in the future. But there's also the problem where we've talked about before, the California duck curve, where the price is dropping, and we think it will drop in a few years in the middle of the day when solar's producing.
Can I ask
So-
a question?
Yeah.
When these are generated out there, like up there on a solar plant, is the transmission direct transmission of that generated power, or is it traded on the grid somehow?
It's traded on the grid. It's put on to the system.
Okay.
And so it's all through metering and financial accounting and trading that, yeah, because it's pretty amazing when you think about, I mean, the grid's kind of like a big pond. And everyone's taking their scoop, and we just got to keep it at that level that it needs to be.
There's kind of a misconception sometimes that that's coming on a line down to Springville.
Yeah, no. We're probably using some other ones, but
Yeah.
they're
So-
using ours, so.
Sean, are there batteries that hold this?
No,
Solar
not
on,
right
on
now.
solar? It's just, but it's, so it's always transmitting, and then when it's gone or it's sunny,
Yeah.
then it's not there. So there's nothing that can save the power that's made. It's just made, I mean, it's
Made
just
and
there when
used
it
at
is.
that time.
Made and used at that time. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we don't want to be too aggressive. I mean, we can easily fit the amounts we're trying to get right now in our portfolio, but we want to see how it acts and how the industry acts and things like that. And I mean, also the benefit of it is for future renewable power resource requirements that'll probably be politically asked in the future. So it helps us financially, it helps us politically, and we actually have some customers that buy pure renewable as well, some commercial customers here in town. So,
And Liz, that's a great question, because batteries are key, to the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is.
Well,
Travis Ball is they're putting on a battery project where the city's gonna fund it. They're gonna do some research in conjunction with some BYU researchers. And, just to demonstrate the technology, battery technology. It's still got a ways to go from what I understand, but yeah, it's
well,
important.
because the waste on the batteries, I understand, is pretty significant, but
They just don't
maybe
have
as
the
time,
capacity or
yeah,
the
maybe as
cost
time
is
goes
high.
by, I mean, they are better every
Yes.
year.
Well, you look at cars, I mean, how they started.
Yeah.
Now, you have a 300-mile range or
Yeah.
400 miles with some cars.
Yeah, I mean, when they get
That's pretty cool.
feasible, we'll definitely be wanting to look into that. I mean, Logan's doing a project right now, Provo's doing a project, but it's more of an experiment where it's not financially feasible, but they're just learning. And so as that gets closer, we definitely will want to be involved in that. And we did research it in a couple of the projects to add it into the solar projects to see if we could get some generation more in our peak hours later at night. So, yeah. Let's see. So that's kind of what it would look like in July. That orange amount there. I would mix in. So it would relieve a little bit on the Whitehead, a little bit on Nebo, and with a little bit of natural gas. And where it's white there is where we don't have coverage. So we still need some more generation. Is there any other questions, or trying to see what else I can show you from last week? We didn't talk that long, but one of the things that's concerning us is we're getting these crazy spikes going on in power pricing. We've had 2 big incidences in 2021, and then it's it from the fall to just this last month, it's been expensive, about double of what we're used to seeing in the market.
Oh, I see.
And the concern is you'll have one of those spikes on July 8th when you got white paper part.
That's when they happen.
I
Yeah,
know.
they happen in the summer generally. That February one actually benefited us. We made a lot of money on our gas hedges at Nebo
Oh, yeah.
because they sold that gas and then bought power instead and got that spread. And so we were looking at that power bill for last February, and it was awesome compared to this February. So yeah, this February's been bad. So. Yeah, so that's kind of a matrix showing what, the price escalation's been. So that's what's really worrying us. That's why we're doing so much. If I go back to this slide, this is what we want our portfolio to look like within 2 years. And we probably will need some more peaking generation as well to get to where we need to be. But this Muddy Creek is still a little bit up in the air, and Enchant's a little bit up in the air. Do you have any other questions, or let's see, I'll make sure
So you're kind of shooting all 3 proposals together.
Yeah, so the steel solar is just to be involved with that project for the next 25 years. The next one, and these have all been approved by the Power Board, we spoke with them. The next one, next 2 are,
I was just gonna say, Sean, if you wanted, I mean, we could.
Yeah,
make
we
a-
can just-
We could make a motion on the solar,
Okay.
and then we
And
could
then
talk
just
about the
move
other
on.
2.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve resolution 2022-11, authorizing entrance into the Steel Solar 1B Power Project, which is a power purchase agreement for 25 years for the capacity of 2.299 megawatts at a price of $31.35 per megawatt hour.
I'll second.
This is a roll call vote since there's a resolution. Councilmember Crandall,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Sorensen.
Yes.
That passes. And do we need to discuss these other ones? Do we need this presentation again, Sean, or is this?
No, you don't need a presentation. It's just a matter, if you can ask me questions about it, things like that. The point of these is, you probably heard about, we could have had a 10-year contract a couple months ago, and we weren't able to do it because of the way
Right.
the resolution was written. So we may not be able to get this, but I'm just getting the resolution done. And if the market falls into this price, then we can do it, and we'll have permission to do it and be able to act on it. And so just being preemptive. Right now, the market's a lot higher. So I got numbers, I got 77.40 about a month ago, so it's gone up a lot for that same one.
For that $71 one?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And so I'm just hoping that things calm down in the world. If that's, when talking to the power board and that, we were like, we didn't feel we should make any rash decisions right at that time, because everything's so crazy with what's going on in the energy markets, and we're hoping it smooths out a little bit before we jump in, but we're just trying to get the permissions and everything set up first to go ahead with these two contracts.
So did this other one in item number 7, the $65 one, is that the same, did that go up as well?
Yes, that one went up a lot. So, 4 megawatts from April of 22, so this month, till December of 23 is 8540.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're just trying to, what happened was this Muddy Creek plant's gonna take longer to get online. And so we moved it to 2024. We're hoping by extending the duration, it's a little cheaper out 2 years from now for things. And so adding on to that, we're hoping to get the price down, but it may not happen either. After we got approval from council for the gas deal on February 15th, the next morning I tried to do that and no one would do a deal. They all knew something was gonna happen before it did. So BP wouldn't do a deal, Shell wouldn't do a deal, and everyone was nervous.
So these two figures that we're voting on here in these, we're holding at 71, but the price has gone up to that, and we're holding
It's
at
above it.
65, and
Yes.
that's gone up too.
Yeah.
So we're in good shape there.
Well, we aren't gonna, these might not happen. I'm just gonna hold on
So
to
if it
them.
does go
and
down,
If it
hope.
does,
grab it
if it
without-
does go
Yes.
down, you can
Yeah,
get
I'm
it.
hoping we have some kind of a shock, interest rate shock or something like that, that affects energy prices adversely. That's the hope, and if we can get in there quick,
Yeah.
something good can happen. But that's what, I just need it all done so that it doesn't take a
You can
month or
jump on
so.
it when you need
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
And,
good.
and you're not feeling like it's gonna go any less than this?
If it does, it'd be glorious, but I don't know. I hope so.
But
I
don't,
hope-
aren't we, but we have to pay this price, even if it goes lower.
If we make a deal at that price,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
hopefully we see some kind of momentum or something to where, we see a big change or something like that. But this works with our budget, these prices
Okay.
right now, as long as we can get the gas in as well, that we were trying to do and was approved before, that we haven't been able to get. But we're exposed about 10 to 15% to market gas for the next 5-ish years, and then it gets really good after that because we have all those hedges in, and it was at almost 100% of what we needed at Nebo. The Whitehead still doesn't quite have enough, so it should be okay. We're hoping.
Well, and so is what you're saying is the reason that they are in our budget is because you've planned ahead and bought hedges going forward.
Yeah, the
Too,
gas.
or else would really be.
Yeah,
exposed,
gas has
right?
gone to 6 something now,
Wow.
and so all our hedges, our worst hedges are at 4, and these other ones you guys made like a year ago in 2021, and the year before that were at like $2.80. So, yeah, it's a lot cheaper. It's really helping us. So our budget was like $62.50. We're used to getting around $59 a megawatt, for in our budget and have a little bit of margin. But we've bumped up with some of these energy problems to around $63, just $63.50, somewhere in there. But it's held it there because of all the hedges and all the planning that went on before. And
Well,
so,
I appreciate that. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
great.
we just can't thank you enough as a council and as citizens that you are so ahead of the game. So
that's nice of you to say. I actually feel bad. I feel bad that I didn't get that other gas and stuff earlier. I bet we were trying to stagger our contracts and stuff to make it where it went a little longer, like we did one in 2019, so we had one contract ending in 2029. So we're just trying to leapfrog and kind of create a ladder of expiration and resources, and so we're just waiting as long as we could. And I mean, it's just a couple weeks.
and I think that's just the nature of everything. I mean, we all are like, well, if I just would have bought
Yeah.
this or sold
Yeah.
this. So
A lot of
we're
house
all in the
areas.
same boat. So you're good.
But it is in pretty good shape considering.
So I just don't understand this market very well, and it's not I'm not going to understand it very well. You guys are in the trenches every day doing this. Just a couple quick questions, though, about the actual purchases. I mean, does it make sense to, can you go into smaller blocks? I realize it's multiple transactions, and I don't know if there's a saving for scale. So in other words, if you get more megawatts, if you're going to get a, lower transaction cost. But I'm just wondering, could you break this to average in over time? Because you're trying to get the two barbell locations, right? You're trying to get around 2024, and you're trying to get 28 to 32, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, I mean, could you split those? Or
Maybe put
because the
it-
volatility right now
We could
is just
maybe
crazy.
try and add it together. And I kind of thought about that, like make
Or-
it like a 4 megawatt that's out for 10 years, because the way we're growing in that, it might work.
Well, yeah, to use it that way, or I was even saying, instead of 5, could you go, 2.5 blocks, or 2
Yeah,
blocks?
you can go
So
smaller.
you could average in and get an average
Yeah.
cost basis instead of locking in today when things are really volatile.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could,
know.
I
mean, it's all a guess, right?
It's kind of
Nobody
small,
understands.
right? This is kind of small amounts to us in a way right
Okay,
now.
that's what I didn't understand.
Yeah,
Well, to
at
us
4
or
and
to the
5
market?
Well, both. It's kind of
Okay.
small.
Then that answers the
so-
question.
But we can make it smaller. I mean, they'll
Well, it's how the market trades. I mean, if you're telling me that it doesn't make sense to break it into smaller blocks to try and average in, I mean, that's really kind of a guess anyways, right? Trying to game it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of did that more on a long-term basis, like a 10-year basis, more so than like, say, a monthly. And we could try to do something like that with gas. I mean, I started considering that rather than doing a whole block. But the funny thing is out far it's cheaper and it's expensive up close. And so
That's
the more you can
backwardation,
put out far, the cheaper you pull down nows and the whole thing. And so that's why I was trying to make it longer. But it's just all of a sudden the risk got to where those guys are like, no way, we aren't doing anything right now.
But that's the thing, is we're looking out 10 years potentially for the longer
Yeah,
contract. And like with oil right now, I mean, you got backwardation, which is what you're describing. So I mean, you got up front, the price is really expensive.
Yes.
But out on the curve, it's cheaper. So that's why I'm
Yes.
wondering for this longer piece, if it makes sense to wait until prices come more in line with what the futures are predicting.
That's
Does
what
that
I'm
make sense?
hoping. That's kind of what we're trying with here.
You're saying that by setting this price and saying if it comes.
That's why, yeah, I'm not saying it at the market price. I'm trying to set way below.
This is
I'm
like,
hoping it goes back.
this is like the max acceptable price.
Yes.
Okay, so the other question, sorry to take some
No,
of the weeds
it's
here.
good.
I'm really concerned about the counterparty thing because honestly, all these big energy companies are siloing off small pieces that they could easily bankrupt, right? They're not liable for the power. So I'm just saying it's very easy to put walls in between, who you think BP is versus the organization you're actually trading with as a counterpart.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, if there's some way to pre-vet or look at the companies you'd be getting bids from, because I think you're trying to get multiple bids too, which I know is impossible in this situation. But if there's some way to look ahead of time at the company or exactly legally what that entity is, I just worry. I mean,
I do
There's been
too.
a lot of blow-ups in the past.
I think it's important to diversify between vendors because
Yeah,
of that,
that's
really, because I think any of them can go blow apart, like what you're saying. And so the problem is they're kind of the big ones, those two, with gas. But in energy, there's more. And there is some smaller ones that we can do things with. And so I've thought about that with that other gas deal you guys approved doing like 5 years instead, even though you've approved for 10, just try and do the 5 years under price and get us through whatever's happening, and hopefully things will calm down, and then do the rest later. Yeah. I don't know. That's why we're chopping up and doing so many little
I
things.
know there's no answer, Sean. I'm just trying to get you
Yeah.
thinking, and I know you've thought through this.
Well, the only way I can see is owning some things and then doing some market contracts with some, splitting them up between different companies, different kinds of resources, kind of what we're doing. And I mean, if you go back to this slide, let's see, right here, it's pretty broke up. I mean, we have a big concentration in Nebo, and that's always worried me, but we own it, it's maintained well, and it's more feeding the gas to it. And then we have multiple hedge providers that are feeding gas to that. So I hope we're safe.
Well, Chris said something not several, but a few years ago about, we could be running this like a business or we could be running it like a city. our goal is not to make a whole bunch of money or take crazy risks. It's to provide a consistent service level to our citizens. And if that costs a little bit more, but it's secure, and I don't know if I'm paraphrasing what you said, but I'm totally okay with it costing a little bit more and being secure than saying, hey, we might be able to save you a little, but it's very risky.
But I actually think we're kind of through the belly where all the stuff you guys did is actually going to make money now.
Yeah, oh, totally.
For a
Sure.
lot. You
But it
paid on
coulda-
the front end and
depending on
you're
what the market
making,
would have done. It could have been the other way around. But
Yeah.
I could have faced the citizen and said,
Yeah.
but it's secure.
yeah,
Versus,
well, it's secure and you're going to make money now when you were paying a little bit too much before. But we went through that trough like a year ago, a year and a half.
Yeah, we were
a
upside
little,
down
a
3
little
or 4
too much
years
was
when we
like
started.
this much too much. It wasn't like
No,
"Oh, spring
no.
back,
If-
you're 110.
No, if you're a power producer or seller, it's really good shape to be in.
Can I ask a question about this slide? Maybe it's not supposed to be on here. I thought we generated some in the spring with the runoff in the canyon.
We do.
And it's not, does that not?
I don't throw it on there. It's a small amount.
Well, I knew that,
It's
but
a
it-
pimple
but
on a something.
And
How's your microwave?
that gets complex.
I know
'Cause
it's
the way the
very-
waters run now, there's
it's
some
very-
things that change.
about
I
it
knew, but I just wondered if it figured into your plan. You don't even count it. It just,
I don't count it. It's
house
just,
over there has
but it helps. It's money. I mean, it makes money, and
Spending money
it's
to
very, it's reliable in that the water right situation up there changed a little bit, and that kind of messed us up where we used to put tons in a rotary tank, and so we were generating a lot put in there, and they're having to bypass and put it in the Hobble Creek now.
So does
the
it,
water
does
part-
it pay for itself up there?
Does it pay for itself? Yes. Yeah. That lower little hydro made about 2.4 million from like 1978 to about 2014. And so if you think about the price to put it in, a good example is the town I live in down Spring City. They paid $13,500 for their first hydro, and they thought they were dying. That was in the 30s, and that thing offsets about a third of their power. It's probably upwards of 50 or 60,000 a year for them, but in some of the bad months during the California time is making 13,000 a month, and so it's just like buying a house or something like that. You have that angst at first, and then it starts making money, and it's consistent, and it's clean, and it's just around the clock, and any base load that you can get right now is a good thing, because as the industry's switching over to natural gas and these renewables, they're not base load. The only base load's coal and nuclear, and coal's dropped off from 40% of the production of the nation down to 20 now, and nuclear's been at 20 the whole time. It's been pretty steady. They've only had a couple of plants. There's like 102 and now it's like around 98 or 97, something like that are functioning. But
you raised one more question for me. You said we used to run it through the hydro, but now we put it in Hobble Creek. Well, it went through the hydro into Hobble Creek also. What
through
changed?
the hydro and that hasn't changed. It's been more drought years, I should say. But what's changed is like the poor water department's paying more to pump, and that's what bothers me. That it's not gravity fed all the water down the canyon. So.
But it goes back into Hobble Creek whether we run it through the hydro or not, doesn't it?
Well, it used to come down through the culinary system, and it relieved wells down here that are pumping back.
Okay.
So there's the water rights changed, and then also we've been in a drought. We've had really bad production as far as what's going into the tanks.
It's
and
probably
those kind-
already not peaked out, hasn't it? Probably. the
No, it
hydro.
usually peaks out in May.
Oh.
Yeah, end of May. So.
Not this year.
I actually haven't been up there myself for a couple months, so I'm not sure. Have you been up there?
There was a little snow at the top this morning. That's all there was.
Really?
Yeah, we can.
It's not.
I can
At my
check
house,
out
there's
too.
snow everywhere, so
Just one more.
I
point
haven't
of-
been on the back.
Just one more point of clarification. So, this was all based to meet the needs that we had in 2021.
Yeah.
In July to hit that peak.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more that we're going to have to cover in the future.
Yes.
So we need a bunch more we're going to have additional projects, and
Yes.
and maybe you could explain to the group what you think that just based on kind of what you've heard about growth and things that have already been approved,
Yeah.
what you think you're going to need in terms of megawatts over the next few
So-
years, additional.
So that Westlake project, I think 3 megawatts base load and like 7 additional peaking, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So that was a big decision because right now, you can see, it's very hard to find base load. We can do peaking. It's more controllable. We can build it. It's kind of not fun that the gas has gone where it has either, but we can move what we have to different places in the hours we need a little bit and buffer some of that. And that's why this solar is looking attractive to us at these prices right now as well. In a way, we're trying to, I guess I'd call it a patch. We tried to build up our base load. So when we came to you in January, we said, okay, we need 5 megawatts. And we were down around 14 on base load for the last 15 years. And we were making all sorts of money at night because we're pulling in all this stuff for $30 at night. Well, all of a sudden it's evaporated, so we got scared. We're trying to up our base load up to 21, which also helps on the other end where you have your peaking generation. Makes you need less. Otherwise, we'd need 15 or 16. But we're trying to up our base load and stabilize our portfolio that way. Then we can move around the gas a little bit, bring in this cheap solar, and but we're still going to need some either some recips or gas turbine type availability or capacity. Capacity is becoming a big deal, especially in Utah. Everyone has the same problem. They've grown 12 to 25%, a lot of these towns, in electricity usage in the last year. It's crazy the amounts that Lehigh and St. George and Heber. And so last summer when I saw them buying like crazy, I was like, I never saw Heber Power buying power like they have been. And that scared me because I saw Bountiful doing it. I saw Murray doing it. I saw Lehigh buying, 35, 40 megawatts an hour. That's a big hole. And so, and at prices that were $300 a megawatt. And so if you do the math, the numbers are massive. And so the only way to insulate that, the cheapest way, is to buy recip engines. It's about $1,500 installed kilowatt, and everything else is double to triple that. And so things like the Whitehead, and we've thought about maybe building another plant, satellite plant, because of emissions, or building one outside of the Wasatch Front. And that's what a lot of cities are starting to do. They're teaming up outside of the Wasatch Front. There's a few cities that are trying to do one by Idaho Falls right now. There's one going in Morgan. Brigham City's trying to get one. But it's best to be, because we talked about that non-attainment area with emissions, it's best to be off the Wasatch Front and outside of the Cache Valley if you can with power plants. So if we can team up with someone that's outside of this area, that would be beneficial for the emissions idea. Probably for gas lines too. It gives you diversity of gas lines when there's interruptions and things like that. So that's what we've been thinking about. We'll probably be presenting soon, and we also need to renew the Whitehead power plant. We got really old engines in there. So they're, one's 1967. There's couples from 78, and then one from 83-ish. And so we've been keeping them going and that.
How often are those rebuilt? How often are those rebuilt?
I've rebuilt K1 3 times in my career, K2 3 times, K3 3 times. Oh, run hours is probably around 30,000 hours. Well, 25, the rings start going, or the valves start going bad, and then around 30, the rings are going out. So, but usually they're high maintenance the way that they're designed and things like that. They're kind of a higher maintenance thing than some of the new designs.
Okay.
Remember when we got those from the TVA,
Yeah.
Sims Valley, the
Tennessee Valley.
Tennessee Valley
Tennessee
Authority.
Valley
They came all the way from there.
Yeah, they got them cheap. I mean, they built the plant cheap, and same with K3. I mean, it was really pretty good engines. One of the last ones that came off the line. And we ended up rebuilding that when we first got, though. There were some angry people as the plant closed, and they took a ball peen hammered a few internal components that we found, and would have hurt the engine. But anyway, yeah, I've rebuilt them a lot, and there's a bunch in that kind of book thing I wrote, I talk about some of the structural problems with them or that's inherent in them and how you get out of them with some of the new stuff. And so that it is way less maintenance, the new stuff. And my philosophy has changed also, where I used to like really big engines because of the slower the speed, the more efficient. But then these smaller ones, boy, they're cheap to work on and easy to work on. It's almost like cars for us. So, and they put out pretty good power and they're pretty efficient the way that they've done them. And so it's changed where I'm like, well, let's just have a ton of them. It's like, if you are a car guy, it's like Chev 350s. There's millions and they're cheap. And that's how I'm viewing that.
I see a bunch of little Honda generators. On
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but those three engines are big, man. They are.
Yeah, they're the biggest in Utah that are.
Yeah, I'll bet they are.
And so, yeah. So it's cool to work on them. It's been awesome to work on them. And like I say, I was pretty, I like the big stuff, but like when you have a piston, you know, some kind of problem, it's big money. So to give you an example, to rebuild a head on those engines, you're talking about 0.6 of a megawatt, costs $63,000, where you can rebuild the whole Caterpillars. You can buy all new heads for about $45,000.
Oh, wow.
All 20 of them. And so, and then you get 2.5 megawatts with that same capacity for that cost. And so you can't argue with that. And then all the engineers have retired and stuff, you know, that I used to talk to, work with, they're all gone. And so,
How can you get parts for those?
they build them from drawings, and so it takes us a long time. We go through this maintenance process in the winter where we really inspect them well, and then, you know, we have to order things, and it's all from drawings and things like that. And
They're not sitting on a shelf somewhere.
no, not usually. No. There's a couple other cities that have them. We bought parts off them, but it's got, yeah, we don't have parts. And another thing to kind of give you an idea of how long they'll last, the fuel pumps on them, they're mechanical, made by a company called Ambac, which is American Bosch. And they stopped their mechanical fuel pump production like about 5 years ago. 6 years ago, they sold the factory and everything, and they don't make them anymore. They make all electronic pumps, like for your pickups and everything, so we can't get parts. So we bought everything in the country we could get a hold of, and that's what we got. So, and I got this guy that knows how to rebuild them that lives in Alpine, and so hopefully he lives long. Because he's
Well, you're
he's in
pretty
his 60s
resourceful,
now.
Sean. Thank you.
You ready for some motions there, Mike?
Let's do item number 6, and
We gotta do
we'll
five first, don't we?
we did 5.
Did we do 5?
Yeah,
Oh,
we did
sweet.
5.
Let's do 6.
So let's do 6, and then we'll move on to 7, and we'll get her.
All right, well, I'll do 6. I'll motion to approve purchasing 5 megawatts of baseload power for a period of January 28 to December 32 at a price not to exceed 71 per megawatt hour. January 2028 to December 2032. I might have not said 20. I just said 28.
He just slurred his speech. You mean 28?
Look at, I mean, yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And item number 7, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I can do 7. A motion to approve purchasing 4 megawatts of baseload power from any month up to December 31st, 2024, at a price not to exceed $65 per megawatt hour.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do we have a closed session?
No closed session. At 5 o'clock tonight, there were 4.3 inches of water and 12 inches of snow at our station at 7,300 feet up in Hopple Creek. 56% of normal.
Wow.
I mean, 56% of median. It's actually average. It's coming down. We're about half of what we had a couple of weeks ago. Normal runoff, normal precipitation.
So no heavy.
Not heavy, not
coming
light,
down
just
at all.
normal.
I'll motion we end this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good job.
Just like that.
See you next